This is always the worst part, sitting and waiting for a show to start. It doesn't matter whether it's in a gallery or whether you're doing it online. That whole feeling, that fear, what if nobody comes? What if nobody buys? We're at 12:02 and okay, this feels very strange saying this, but we're at 12:02. So the email went out 2 minutes ago and we're already at $8,000 in sales. It's now 12:30 and we're at $20,500 in sales. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about hosting and planning for an online art show and sale. So if you're an artist and you're interested in selling your work online, stick around for this video because I'm sure you're going to learn an awful lot. So I'm sitting here right now waiting for my sale to go live. An email is going to be sent out to all of my newsletter subscribers at 12 noon. And they're going to have a link in that email that is going to take them to my online gallery. And at that point, the sale will be live. So as I talk to you today about planning an online show and about my experience with it and how I went about kind of planning this show, the strategic thinking behind promoting it, and all of just the logistics of actually conducting an online show, hopefully, hopefully, we're actually going to get some sales off the online show while I'm talking to you about how to plan an online show. Okay, so Cameron, my son, is here kind of updating me as well. And I can see that the email with the link to my show just went out. And Cameron's actually monitoring for me on our Shopify site. And it says we've got 10 people now actually on the site looking, and a few people have items in their carts. And we're just waiting for the first sale. And it is 12:01.
2 people checking out right now.
And we got 2 people checking out. So once the sales go through, Cameron's going to tell me what we've sold, and I'll keep you kind of advised at a kind of a running total of how much we've sold during the course of this video. And then I'm going to go into great detail in terms of how I went about planning this show. Okay, so we're at 12:02 and we're okay, this feels very strange saying this, but we're at 12:02. So the email went out 2 minutes ago and we're already at $8,000 in sales. And I'm expecting, hoping that we're going to record a number more sales while this video goes on. Okay, so we are off to a pretty good start. It's now 12:30 and we're at $20,500 in sales. Now, again, when I say that, I find it hard to keep a straight face. And I just think back about, like, say, my first 5 years trying to make it as a professional artist. I never made $20,000 in a year. And I can sit here kind of so glib and just say, yeah, the show's been on for a half hour, we're already at 20,000 in sales. But that it just goes to show that, like, what is possible. Now, for those of you who don't know me and who aren't familiar with my channel, I'm Tim Packer. I am a fairly successful artist. I've had a 20-year career. I've sold about $2.5 million worth of my art. So I sort of kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to selling artwork and creating artwork. And I've created this channel to help other aspiring artists. I know that there are so many people out there who just dream of being able to make a decent living off of their art. I've been able to do that very well myself. I've also been able to help a number of other artists do that. And that's the reason I've created this channel, to share everything that I've learned with those of you who share that same dream. I'm going to talk a little bit about the whole starving artist stereotype, and it is very real. Like, a recent study in the US showed that of all self-professed full-time artists, 80% of them earned less than $10,000 a year, and half of those earned less than $5,000 a year. So again, that stereotype of the starving artist is alive and well. Nobody, when you tell someone that you're an artist or if you're going to pursue art, nobody asks you if you are rich or expects you to be rich or wealthy or successful. Because again, the fact of the matter is, most artists really struggle to make a living. Part of the problem is that people go to art school, universities, thinking that's going to teach them how to make a living as an artist. And it just really does not. Most people have no idea how to, First of all, they have no idea about how to create art that people are actually interested in hanging in their homes or hanging in their offices. And even if they do, there's very little taught about the business of being an artist, of how you actually go about earning a decent living as an artist. And while I feel incredibly fortunate to be in the situation I'm in now, like I say, living my dream, the ability to sit here and just say to you, yeah, in the last half hour, we've done over 20,000 sales online. But here's the important thing. It's not because I'm some gifted artist. It's not because I was given this gift by some higher power. Like I say, my first 5 years of trying to make it as an artist, I couldn't make $20,000 in a year. No one at that point was telling me that I was so lucky I had this gift. And of course, you should be an artist. People thought I was nuts when I quit my job to pursue my dream of being an artist. But the one thing that I have is I'm a voracious learner. And so I have read literally probably over 1,000 art magazines. I've watched tons of videos. I also am a voracious learner about business. And I spent the first 10 years of my art career trying to figure out how I could get to earn a decent living. I was also fortunate enough that I was elected to the Canadian Society of Painters and Watercolor. And there I got to rub shoulders with a lot of artists who were successful. And I basically looked at what they did and then did that. And then I've also been very fortunate that around 6 years ago, I understood that social media was really changing the art world as well as it was changing everything else. And one of the things that it was changing was it was taking away the gatekeepers or the middlemen. Up until that time, almost all of my sales, at least a high percentage of them, were through commercial galleries. And commercial galleries and gallery owners had all the power. They got to determine who got to show their work, and they had the contacts, they had the client list. And if you wanted to be really successful, you had to go through galleries. And I was in a number of galleries, probably about 13, 14 at one time. And I was the top seller or one of the top sellers in all the galleries I was in. And I was making a very good living just selling my work through galleries. But they were taking 50 or 40% of the sales. That's something I really didn't like, but I was willing to put up with it. But once I started getting into social media, what started happening is people were contacting me directly about buying my work. And that's when I started to realize that if I used social media effectively to develop my client list, then I would have total autonomy. I wouldn't be beholden to some gallery. I wouldn't be beholden to their schedule about when I could have a show or if I could have a show. And so about 5 or 6 years ago, we started making the move more towards selling work online directly. And I started dropping galleries. And now I'm down to just 3 galleries, and they account for maybe 10%, not even 10% of my sales in a year. 90% of my sales are all direct to client, and it's online. Okay, so let me talk to you about selling online. I've been selling online with my website for probably 10 years, but we really only got good at it in the last year or so. So there's a few things that I would say that you need to know if you're going to consider selling your work online. And the first thing is you need to have a website that allows you actual purchases where people can actually buy the work by just clicking the buy now button. Now, when I first started with my website, we just had all the work on there and said to people, if you're interested in purchasing something, just you can email me and then we'll make arrangements. But the fact of the matter is, and studies have shown this, every step that you make people take to be able to get to a purchase, you lose a lot of people. So the fact that someone having to email me and me email them back and the back and forth, you lose a lot of sales. Once we changed our site and put up a Shopify site with our store on it where people could just click to buy, then our sales went up dramatically. So you may be thinking this is crazy, right? That the show just went live and people are already kind of on there in a hurry to buy. And how did I kind of develop that sort of urgency for people to buy it. I'm going to tell you my strategy for planning this show. And it kind of goes back to earlier this year in February. I had a gallery that I had opened for about 3 or 4 years that I ran. And with COVID and me just realizing, okay, the gallery was actually doing okay. It was making money, but it needed like full-time attention, needed somebody to be there. And we just realized that it really wasn't worth the time and effort. And as we were starting to move more and more into online sales, the cost of actually running a bricks and mortar gallery and having to staff it just didn't make sense. But and COVID-19 was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. So we decided to close the gallery in February. Now that gave us a problem because I had all of these giclées and a couple of originals that were in the gallery, and they took up a lot of space. And the question was, well, how are we going to store all these? And I even talked to my wife about getting a storage unit because we just didn't have room for them in the house. And then I thought, hang on, why don't I just do an inventory sale? I'll do a sale where we're only selling the pieces that we have in inventory. Because what I didn't want to do was just have a general sale and have people order stuff that maybe we didn't have in stock and not sell the pieces that we had. Because for me, the problem was just, I didn't want to store these prints. I wanted to get rid of them. So I came up with the idea that we are going to do an online sale, and we are only going to have available the pieces that we have in stock. And the website will be live, but with only one of each item. So as soon as a piece sells, it's marked sold out. Because again, I didn't want us to have to be printing a bunch of other new giclées and storing the ones that we had. So I did that. And this was back in March. And what happened just absolutely blew me away. The sale actually started at 7 a.m. and I didn't get up till about 7:15. And I thought, well, I'll just check and see, make sure that I got the email and the show is live. And when I checked my emails, I already had about 4 sales. And then as I sat and watched over the next few hours, and as sales came in, and I would kind of write down what it sold and kind of tally them up. By the time I tallied up the sales, I'd look and there'd be 2 or 3 more sales. And we ended up doing almost $40,000 in sales between 7 in the morning and noon. And that was something that I had never had happen to me before. And I realized what was going on there, because I'm not only just a good artist, but I'm very, very fascinated with business. And I really tried to learn all I can about business and apply that to my art business. And I know that with sales, 2 of the things that are kind of the most powerful kind of motivators for people is scarcity and urgency. And that's what was happening in that sale. There was scarcity because there was only one each of each item. And there was urgency because as people were on the site, they could see things being marked sold out. And that kind of fueled them to, well, I got to make a decision now. Now, I've actually seen that happen in real life as well, where I've had solo shows where the first 10 minutes, people are walking around. And then as soon as a few red dots start going up, all of a sudden we have more and more sales because people have that fear of missing out. So I realized that's what was going on there. And so while that was a great day, and it got rid of my problem of all of my excess inventory, I tried to figure out, well, how can I use this strategy kind of going on? And what I came up with is we decided to every week feature 3 giclées, so giclée reproductions. For those of you who don't know what a giclée is just the highest quality print that's available now. So these are prints on canvas. And what I decided to do is every week we would select 3 giclées. We would create a similar hidden gallery on my Shopify site, and we'd send out a link to my newsletter subscribers. And they would know that here's these 3 giclées, but only one of each available at 25% off. We started doing that immediately after that first online sale. And what we found is we were selling, on average, probably 2 of the giclées every week. We are also getting sales of stuff at full price as well, because it was bringing people to the website. And now I'm going to talk to you about how I went about planning this show. So I used to have a studio open house every fall where people would come to my house and buy work. And often we would do really well there. But actually a really good studio open house where I'd have my house open for 2 days would be $20,000. And like I say, we're almost there 18 minutes into this show. And so I just always got used to the idea of having a fall show. And that first show that we did back in the spring, where I wanted to just unload the inventory from my gallery, was so successful. I thought, well, I'd like to do another one. And I also thought, well, if I do another one, I want to actually film it and create a video about doing an online art show. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. And the reason that I wanted to do this was actually a comment that I got a few weeks ago. Again, I have stuff out there about, I actually have a course online on the timpackerartacademy.com of becoming a successful artist. And I have a free webinar with the 10 keys for selling your art. Now, I busted my butt to create that webinar last winter. I spent about probably 5 weeks writing it out and planning it all out, about a week of actually shooting the video, and then probably a month of editing the video. Because again, I feel so fortunate in the fact that I've been able to achieve all of my dreams. I really want to share that, but people just don't believe it. So I had a comment on one of the ads that promotes my free webinar. This is free. It's like over an hour long about everything I've learned about selling art. And it's the 10 keys to selling your art. And someone commented, oh, I hate scams like this. Like, yeah, it's a scam. Like I've spent the last 5 years creating over 100 YouTube videos and posting them. I created this webinar to share everything I learned, and I'm trying to scam you out of your email address. And I just thought, and I get it though, because there are a lot of people out there trying to scam you. I'm not trying to scam you. The other thing I want people to realize too is that, when I made the decision to walk away from painting and to focus all of my attention on teaching, it's not because I'm not selling paintings. It's not like, again, I know there are people out there, they can't do, so they try to make money teaching, or they're just teaching stuff that they've heard or learned from other people or whatever. Like, I know what I'm doing here. And again, I want to share that with you. Because like I say, I remember being that artist standing in a gallery where nobody came to the opening and having zero sales. I've had online sales before where I had zero sales. I've done festivals where I had zero sales, but I know what it takes to become a successful artist and to make a decent living. And I want to share that with you. So anyways, that's what made me decide that I'm actually going to film this while the sale goes live, so that you can actually see, as I'm talking here, that yes, the sales are coming in. I do know what I'm talking about. And if you're interested in eventually having this kind of success, then this channel is probably going to be a good channel for you. And which I guess I should say, like the usual call to action, if you do like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you want to see that video, the webinar on 10 keys to selling your art, you can do that by going to www.aspiringartist.ca. And in that video, I'll give you a little bit of my life story of how I went from a police officer to a starving artist to where I am now. I'll also tell you about a young artist that I mentored by the name of Brooke Cormier, who's gone on to amazing success. And I'll tell you my 10 keys that I think are important about selling your art. And here's just a heads up. Most of the keys, and the first ones you need to worry about, is about the art itself. Selling art is not about tactics. It's not about sales or anything like that. It's first of all about consistently creating great art. And that is the first thing that all artists should be focused on. There are a lot of scams out there where people will tell you they're going to give you their system to sell your art and it's foolproof or whatever. Anyone who tells you that without first looking at your art and making a decision about, is that sellable art or not, well, they're just looking to take your money. So in my 10 keys, a lot of the first keys are about the art itself and what it takes to get to the point where you're consistently creating great art. And if you've seen my videos before, you know that I define great art is art that stops people in their tracks. It takes their breath away. It makes them say, oh my God, I love it. I have to have it. If your art is doing that, and my art does that, because those are the kind of comments I get from people on my social media all the time. If you get to the point, once you get to the point where you're creating art that does that, then putting these tactics into play will allow you to increase your sales and potentially do just phenomenal sales online, where you don't even need to worry about galleries or festivals or anything else like that. But none of this stuff will work if you're just producing good art or very good art. The problem with very good art is there's millions of artists producing very good art. And very good art, I would define as artwork where someone says, oh, look, that's nice. People are not going to line up and buy stuff off you in a feeding frenzy for that's nice. You need to get to the point where you're creating work where people say, oh my God, I love it. I have to have it. And so I made that decision back in, it was around the beginning of October. But there's a huge dilemma, right? Because the problem is we've been offering our weekly feature giclées every week for the entire 6 months leading up to that. So, the thought is like, well, why are people going to come to this sale and buy? Potentially everybody who's interested in buying work has already bought work. And it's like, what can I do to make this successful? Because again, I was afraid that, again, everybody that potentially wanted to buy a giclée had already bought one on one of the weekly features. So I thought, well, there's two things I can do. I need to get more people on to my newsletter list. So I needed to start actively doing things to bring more people onto my newsletter list. And I thought I need to create some sort of excitement, something, again, that urgency. And so I hadn't painted for over a year. I'd done a couple little tiny paintings, but that was it. So I hadn't done any painting for the last year. All I'd been doing is spending my time creating courses for the Online Art Academy and also creating YouTube videos. And so I thought, well, I know there's one thing I can do that's going to create a bit of a buzz and potentially will get me more people onto my newsletter list as well. And that's as I can spend that 5 weeks, 6 weeks prior to the show in my studio painting. But not only in my studio painting, but posting on social media religiously every day, the in-progress shots of the paintings, as well with a call to action on there, telling people about the fact that I have this upcoming show coming up and that it's only available to my newsletter subscribers. So the average public, the person in the public right now, they go to my website, they have no way to access this show. It's only through the link that we sent out to this hidden gallery. And so I thought if I get in the studio, I bust my butt and paint every day for the next 6 weeks, that will create kind of excitement because I've had a lot of people ask me about like when and if I'm going to start painting again. And I knew there was the demand for my paintings. I also knew that just from past experience that posting the in-progress shots and the finished shots of the paintings when I was in my studio painting, that got me a fair reach on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. So I decided for that 6 weeks leading up to the show, I'm going to be in the studio painting every day. I'm going to post every day. Every post is also going to have a little call to action at the bottom about the show and about signing up to my newsletter list. And so that's what we've done for the last 6 weeks. And I've actually created 6 new paintings in the last 6 weeks. And I had 2 little ones that I did just in the spring that also are available. And so over the course of that 6 weeks, we have had, how many new people have we had come onto our Aweber? Do you know, somewhere? Well, I think it's about 70 or 80. So over the course of that 6 weeks, we've picked up about 70 or 80 new subscribers to my newsletter. And so those are all potential people. Those are all people who have never had access to the weekly features before. And then I also know there was a lot of interest being generated by the new originals. But let's look at what I did to start promoting the show to the people on my newsletter list. So the first thing that I did is, I think it was 4 weeks ago, I sent out an email just announcing the fact that I was going to be having an online sale, that I was going to be in the studio painting, and the paintings were going to be available, that our weekly features were not going to be held up until the show, and also that we are offering a 25% discount on all of the originals and all of the giclées for this one day only. Well, the show actually ends tomorrow at midnight, but basically 36 hours that the show is open. And I said we were going to do the sale of 1 each of all of my limited edition giclées. So again, that very first email sent out to all of my subscribers, just announcing the show and with an image of me actually working on the first painting. And then every Saturday since then at noon, and again, I wanted to train people to just recognize that the emails are coming out Saturday at noon. That's when our weekly features get sent out every week. And that's when the show was going live, was a Saturday at noon. And that was so that people know that they get in the habit, if they're interested, that noon is when the newsletter comes out. And then what I did over the course of the remaining weeks up until the show, I would show them finished paintings that I had done and show them in progress of whatever I was working at. Again, just kind of creating that hype about the fact that, yeah, my show's coming up. I'm going to have new originals available for the first time in really a year and a half, and that all of the giclées will be available, but just one of each. And so we did that right up until last weekend. And then in the last few days prior to the show, we sent out a few other ones. So Wednesday, I sent out an email just explaining a few things so people kind of understood everything, understanding that, free shipping was included, but it's only available to the people in Canada and the US, and explaining about the fact that just putting something in your shopping cart doesn't reserve it for you. It can be sold while it's sitting in your cart. And that's actually what happened during that show in the spring. And a few people were very upset. So I just want everyone to know that, it's not yours until you actually click on the buy now button. And then also just letting people know that once the show was over, that I was going to be getting back to filming my courses and working on my online art academy, that it's not like there was going to be new paintings coming out next month or whatever. I'm likely not going to get back to painting again seriously, probably until sometime next fall. Then I'll probably do this same sort of thing again. And then last night, the Friday night before the show, I sent out an email to everybody with a preview of all the originals, because again, I realized, and people did ask me about that after the last show, saying it was very difficult to kind of try and look at the paintings and make a decision while they were kind of, under the pressure of having to buy now or being afraid that it was going to get snapped up by somebody else. So that way send out a preview of all the originals so that people who were interested in originals, they had the ability to actually look at all the pieces and make a decision, so that when the sale started, they knew immediately which one they wanted to go to and were able to purchase it. Yeah, so that was the final email that went out prior to the show. And then today at noon, the email went out. Okay, welcome back. We fast forwarded a little bit here. It's now a couple days after the online show. And so I'd like to do a recap of how the show went. And then I'm going to talk to you about the pros of doing an online show compared to doing one in person. I'm going to talk to you about exactly what you'll need if you want to do your own online show. And then I'm going to talk to you about a very special offer, limited time offer for some courses that I have coming up. So the show was very successful. We did just under $35,000 in sales. I think it was $34,860, something like that. Did 17,000 in original sales and 18,000 in giclée sales. And I think that was through 4 originals. I think it was 27 giclées. Now, I also had an added bonus this weekend. One of the galleries that has my work also sold a big 40 by 60 painting. So that's like another $6,000 coming in. So I actually did over 40,000 in earnings on this weekend, which is pretty amazing. I also just wanted to mention, when I was looking at the first video, that I didn't want to give you the impression that I was dissing galleries, that I don't like galleries. I don't like it when a gallery has all the power and knows they have all the power. I like it when it's a partnership. And so the 3 galleries that I am with, I have a very good relationship with, and I'm actually going to be sending the 4 originals that didn't sell. They're going to be going out to my galleries in a couple of weeks. I also want to mention that I don't think it's a coincidence that that big piece sold on the same weekend as my online sale. I think it's very likely that the client was interested in a big piece. I didn't have anything bigger than 36 by 48. Once they realized that, they went looking. And I think this is the last big piece that I actually have out at any gallery. So I'm not surprised that that sold. But I also think rather than the online show taking away from gallery shows, as long as you treat your galleries with respect and fairly, it can actually add to their sales as well. So during that first part of the video, as you saw the images and the price and the time, that was what happened over over the course of the weekend. So that didn't all happen in that half an hour. But you also might have noticed that we had a couple sales on Monday. And what happened is we got about 25 new subscribers over the course of the weekend. And many of them came on after the email had been sent out. And I did send out another email on Sunday reminding people that the sale ended at midnight. But from some of the people who subscribed after that, they reached out to me and asked, if they could still have a chance to participate in the sale. So I thought, why not? What the heck? So on Monday morning, I sent out another email to everyone, just letting everyone know that, okay, we've had a few requests from people who weren't able to attend the sale on the weekend. We're going to extend it till Monday at midnight, but that's it. And that actually generated another $2,500 in sales. So that turned out to be a really good decision. So let's talk about if you wanted to do your own online sale, there's a few things that you're going to need to have in place. So the first one, as I mentioned, is you need to have a website where you have the ability to have a gallery and have sales actually happen with the click of a button. Again, the fact that pieces will disappear as people are watching, that's what adds to that urgency and scarcity. The other thing is, to do a show like I did, you need to have the ability to do a hidden gallery that is not available to the public. And I really, really strongly recommend that you do your online sale only to your newsletter subscribers for a couple reasons. One is that, you don't want it out there all over the place, that the fact that you're having a sale is like, if you're having a sale all the time, people are going to think, wow, why should I ever buy at full price? The only people who ever are aware of the fact that I'm having a sale are my newsletter subscribers. We actually logged a full price sale of a giclée just like 2 days before the show. And we logged a full price sale of an original at a gallery during the show as well. So if someone were to go to my website, they would have no idea that I have a sale in progress. And you might think, well, why would you do that? Couldn't you get more people if you just advertised out to everyone that you're having a sale so that they didn't have to sign on to your newsletter list? And that actually used to be my strategy. I just used to promote a show, but there's a real fundamental flaw with that. And that is, like, you may get 300 or 400 people coming to your online show and sale and looking around, and you might only get 5 or 10, or in our case, like 31 people buying. And after the show's over, you have no way of reaching those other 100, 200, 300 people that actually came on your website and looked at your gallery. So for me, it's like, I would rather lose out potentially on maybe 1 or 2 sales now for someone who doesn't want to give me their email address. But what I want to make sure is that everybody who's interested in the sale, they know the only way they can get on is to give me their email address. And I know that if they come on and don't find something to their taste this time, or maybe the piece they were interested is gone already, then I can still reach out to them every week with my weekly features, and for my next show and next show and next show. That's been a big fundamental change in the way that we've kind of conducted our sales, that the sales are only available to people who subscribe to my newsletter. And I guess since I've mentioned that, you do need a CRM platform. That's customer relations management is the fancy thing, but it's just basically a email management application. And usually you pay per month. Now I go through Aweber. We only pay $10 a month for that, but you can also do things like MailChimp. That's another very common one. And the thing that's important with these is they give you the ability to create what's called a landing page. And that's that little form that you see where someone inputs their name and inputs their email. And that then puts you on your email list. And this is really important now because of the legislation about spam. You can't just email people. People have to actually sign up. And then there's actually a second process where they have to confirm that they want to subscribe to your newsletter. And there has to be a button on every single email you send out that has an unsubscribe, that they can just click on that to unsubscribe. And if you're trying to do that all your own, it's almost impossible. But not only that, you can sort through your email list, right? Like, so for me, we made this only available to people who are in the US and Canada. That also means, though, that we have to have sort of the infrastructure in place to ship pieces. And we actually do. We ship a lot of work kind of across Canada and across the US all year long. But you may not want to do that. You may only want to promote the sale to people who live within 3 hours of you so that you can actually make deliveries. Well, with an email service provider like Aweber or MailChimp, you can actually sort your subscribers by where they live. So you can only promote it to people of how far you're willing to drive. So again, I would really recommend, if you're going to do this, you really need to start as soon as possible building your email list. And for $10 a month, it's really, really inexpensive. And in that same vein, you're going to want to continually work to build your email list. And you can do that by way of things that are called lead magnets. And a lead magnet is where you offer people something of value for them giving you their email address and their name. And so for me, the thing of value that I offer them for this show is the ability to have first look at all my originals, be able to purchase them at 25% off, as well as to have access to our weekly Giclée features at 25% off. But there are a variety of different ways you can do lead magnets. And I'm actually going to be doing a video on lead magnets in the next couple of weeks on this channel. And the other thing that you need to have, probably the most important thing before you even consider, do you want to do an online sale, is you have to have a compelling offer. And so that means, like, are people going to be interested and excited in what the offer you're giving is? Now, for me, where I used to sell 100 paintings a year at full price through galleries and online. The fact that I only have 8 paintings available and they're at 25% off, that's a very compelling offer. Also, the fact that people have the ability to buy my Giclées at 25% off for that very short period only. But here's the deal. If you are not selling your work currently, at whether it be on your website, whether it be at festivals, at galleries, wherever, if you're not selling your work right now at your regular prices, then very likely no one is really going to be interested in buying your work at a sale price. It's not compelling. So until you reach the point where you are actually logging consistent sales at your current price, your regular retail price, I wouldn't even consider doing an online show. I would focus all of your energy and all your money on improving your art. So on doing more paintings, but in particular on learning, on improving your skills and learning new concepts. And whether that's through buying books, through magazines, taking workshops, whatever, the number one focus until you're reaching the point where you're logging consistent sales of your work is to increase the quality of your art. Another thing that's very important is to consider the timing of your show. Now, I just know from experience that in that kind of 2 months to 6 weeks before Christmas is a really good time for me to do a show. People are already looking for Christmas gifts. Often people will purchase either a Giclée or an original as a gift to themselves, but you want to make sure that you're not conflicting with either Canadian or US Thanksgiving or Black Friday, because those days are very busy for people and you don't want to get lost in the kind of plethora of ads that are going out on Black Friday. So again, just check the calendar, make sure you're not conflicting with any other dates where people are just not going to be available. And if you are going to be doing shipping, then you want to make sure that you've got adequate shipping supplies. So bubble wrap, cardboard boxes. When we ship originals, we actually create a box with the 1-inch thick rigid pink insulation around it to protect them. So you want to make sure you are kind of set up for that. And if you are doing limited edition prints, which we do, and we do all of our own publishing, so we photograph the artwork, we do the digital imaging, we do the printing. The only thing we send it out to get done is the stretching. So we just made sure that prior to the show, we had like a fair bit of inventory in terms of the canvas. We had all of our ink for the printer kind of topped up, because you don't want to be in a situation where, you sell a bunch of prints and then when you order canvas or you order ink, they're out of stock or they're back ordered. And that actually happened a couple times this year because of COVID. When we ordered stuff, there was like a 4 to 6 week waiting period until it was delivered. You don't want that to happen when people have already paid for your prints and they're waiting to get them. And also, if you are going to be shipping the work, then I really recommend the use of a program that we use, which is called ShipTime. And what that does is, for every single product that we go to ship, we input the size of the package and the weight and where it's going. And it gives us a quote from each of like the 7 or 8 largest shippers. And it's funny, it's not always the same ones, depending on the size and depending on where it's going and depending on the weight. Different shippers will come up with the best price. And we actually have accounts with the shippers that they actually just show up at our house and pick up the packages. So over the next probably 3 weeks, we'll probably have somebody showing up at our house almost every day to pick up packages and then get them shipped. So let's look at the pros of an online course as opposed to doing one in person, whether it be, like I said, I used to do a studio open house. I used to have a gallery. I've done shows at galleries. I've done festivals, all of those things that I would call in-person shows. Well, the biggest pro for the online show is you don't need a space. So if, like for me, when I used to do it at my home, we used to actually put all the furniture upstairs and into the garage. The whole house would be turned into a gallery. So our house would be turned upside down for the 2 days of the show. Plus we'd have, around 100 people tromping through our house. It was very, very inconvenient. If you're going to rent a space, then you've got the additional cost of renting the space. The other thing about doing an online show is you can do it whenever you want. You're not dependent on when a gallery space is available or if it's your gallery or a festival in terms of when it's being held. You can pick what you think is the best date to do it for yourself. And finally, especially if you're doing reproductions, you don't need to print inventory in advance. So when I would have my studio open house, I would actually print out about 30 or 40 giclées and have them hung all over the house. Same with if I do a gallery show, I need to have a huge amount of inventory there. Here, we haven't printed out anything in advance. And with the latest developments in printer technology, you can pretty much print today, get it stretched tomorrow, and then get it ready to be shipped. So we already have all of the prints that are going to be shipped. They've already been printed and they're at our framers, and we'll probably be picking them up later this week or early next week so we can get them in the pipeline, make sure they arrive before Christmas. The other great thing about an online show is the size of your audience. If I have a show at my home or in a gallery or in a rented space or a festival, I'm only potentially going to sell to people who can physically come there. Whereas for this show, I have the entire United States, continental US, and Canada at my fingertips. So you have a much, much wider audience. You also not limited by time, right? You don't have to have hours where they have to be there. People could come online and make a purchase at any time during the course of the show. And finally, you don't have to be there. Our house has kind of been turned upside down in the last few weeks because we just had all our windows replaced. I couldn't have actually held a studio open house here because our house is in absolute shambles. All the furniture is moved away from the windows, all the curtains are down. And actually, I've been spending the weekend trying to get it back in order. But because it's an online sale, it doesn't matter. And you don't have to be there. Once the sale goes live, you can just go on with your life. It's not taking that time out of your life where you need to be there and be available. Now, this could be either a pro or con too. You don't have to deal with people. Some people, some artists really don't like talking to clients. To me, that's kind of a con as well. I actually really enjoy talking to clients, and I kind of miss the fact that I don't get to meet the people who are purchasing my work. But at the end of the day, if it's give me huge sales or let me meet people, I'll take the huge sales. And I've never experienced sales like we have in the last 2 online shows we've done, whether it's been I've had some very successful gallery shows. I've had, great festival shows. I've had great studio open houses. I've never had where like 2 shows in a row within the space of, a weekend where we done like $35,000 or $40,000. And also that feeding frenzy that happened at the start where we did like $20,000 in the first 17 minutes, that certainly removes all of the pressure. And that's another bonus of this is, again, that pressure of sitting there, standing at a gallery, waiting while people come in. You don't have to experience that. You can just walk away, come back 6 hours later and check and see what's happened. So those are the pros of doing an online show. But again, I really think you're only going to have success with an online show if you're already having a certain amount of success with the regular sales of your work, whether it be at festivals, galleries, your own shows, whatever. If you're currently just not finding people who want to buy your work at your current price, you're just going to potentially find more people who are not interested in buying your work. So the number one thing to focus on early in your career is improving the quality of your work until you're getting that, oh my God, I have to have it response from people that see your work. And one final pro about doing this, something I didn't even really realize at the start, is, like I say, we picked up about 70 or 80 new subscribers to our mailing list in the 6 weeks leading up to the show. We picked up about 30 new subscribers over the weekend. So I've generated 110 new subscribers who are now going to be available to me every week for my weekly features, and then the next show and next show and next show and next show. So again, when you run a show, even if your sales aren't that great, it's still another great way to increase your email list. So if you are one of those artists who it's like you're not currently selling your work and you're not selling very much at all, it's like, what do you do? Well, again, the first thing you need to do is focus on improving the quality of your work. And I would highly recommend you watch my free online webinar, 10 Keys to Selling Your Work. If you don't know why your work's not selling, I guarantee you that after watching this webinar, you'll have a much better understanding of why you are where you are now and what you need to do, particularly with your artwork, first of all, to get it to the point where you are getting that reaction from the public. Now, I would also recommend that you watch other videos on my channel. As I said, I think I've got about 130 or 140 videos up here right now, and they are all directed towards aspiring artists and sharing what I've learned over the years about how to become successful and how to earn a decent living. Now, all of that is free. I mean, the problem with YouTube is you have to wade through an incredible amount of content to find the little things that you're interested in. And so if you are a starving artist, if you're someone who just doesn't have much disposable income, then most of the stuff that I teach in my courses is available somewhere on some of the videos, but you'll have to wade through probably 60, 70, 100 hours of video content, make your own notes, and kind of from there, develop your own plan. And again, that's what I did. I never took any courses on how to become a successful artist. For me, it was, years and years and years of watching other artists, trial and error, seeing what worked, what didn't. But for those of you who actually do have some disposable income, or for those of you who are in the position that I was, where I had a very well-paying full-time job, but I was interested in making the transition to being a full-time artist. So there, I had cash, but I didn't have a lot of time. Then you might be interested in signing up for my online courses. And in particular, I have an online course. It's a bundle called Becoming a Successful Artist. So that's an entire bundle of courses that the retail value of those altogether is over $1,500. Now, with that, you would normally also get 3 months free to my Hungry Artist community. And that's a community where we do regular live Zoom calls every 3 or 4 weeks, where I alternate between critiquing members' work, between doing individual coaching sessions, and doing general Q&As. So normally you would get 3 months free of that, and then it's a paid subscription for $19 a month. But what I'm doing until the first 100 people have signed up for this full bundle, I'm offering lifetime free membership in the Hungry Artist community. So that's over $200 a year, and that's going forward forever. So that entire bundle of courses, plus the 3 months of the Hungry Artist community, is regularly available from the Tim Packer Art Academy website for $995. But we're offering a special promotion right now until we have the first 100 members in the Hungry Artist community. I'm offering this course, the entire bundle, plus lifetime access to the Hungry Artist community for $595. Now, right now, we've got a little over 80 members, so there's less than 20 spots available. But until those spots are filled up, you can get the entire bundle of courses and the lifetime membership in the community, that's worth over $200 a year. You can get that for $595. Now, the only way you can access that is to watch the 10 Keys to Selling Your Art, because I also want you to know, like, just taking this course is not going to all of a sudden make you a successful artist. This course is going to tell you and show you the things you need to do to actually become successful. And that's going to require hundreds, even thousands of hours of work from you if you want to get to the point where I am now in my career. And there's a saying that I love, which is, if you want to do what I do, you need to be willing to do what I did. And in this webinar, you'll get an idea of what it took me to get where I am now. And more importantly, it'll give you an idea of what it's going to take you if you really want to become successful. And then you can make that decision. I'm sure for some people, it's like, yes, they'd like to be a successful artist, but they really don't want it that bad. And if that's the case, please don't take my course. In this course, and in particular in the Hungry Artist community, I want it to be people for whom becoming a successful artist is the burning drive of their life, where they basically will die unsatisfied if they don't reach a point in their life where they're successful in their art. So if that's you, then I pretty much guarantee if you take the courses and do the things that I tell you to do, that success is not just likely, it's almost guaranteed. But if you're not willing to do everything that it takes, if you really don't want it that bad, then maybe it just might be better for you to keep art as a hobby. So if you are interested in this special offer to get the entire bundle plus lifetime access to me for $595, then you need to register for the webinar. And after the webinar, you'll receive an email with the special offer. Now, I started this community about 10 months ago, and we've already got about 80 people on it. So there's only about 20 spots left to get this offer with the free lifetime component. But you'll also get access to all of my future pro level courses. Now, everything that's on the website now, it's all set up kind of directed towards getting artists to that point where they're making $30,000 a year, which is what I call at least a decent living as an artist. And that alone would put you in the top 97th, 98th percentile of working artists. But I have a number of courses coming up that I'll be filming this winter that are directed at scaling your income. So one of them is going to be self-publishing for artists. So in there, we'll take you through the entire process of publishing your work on your own. And we'll take you through several different scenarios. One going from as simple as using your iPhone and less than $1,000 worth of equipment, assuming you already have a computer, where you can actually start publishing your own small prints. We'll take you to kind of a medium setup of wanting to be able to do larger prints and maybe a little higher quality. And then we'll take you through our process, which is a full-on Mac Daddy, where we've got, expensive cameras, expensive lights, kind of that top computer. We've got a printer that prints up to 44 inches wide. But if you're interested in getting into self-publishing, then that course is coming up. And I do just have to tell you that the margins in publishing, if you do it yourself, are amazing. I think our costs for even selling stuff at 25% off, I think we're still making about 90% profit on each print, which is, again, not very many businesses with a real small amount of capital outlay. You can generate high ticket items that come in at such a high profit. And then I'm also going to be doing a course on creating online courses for artists. I've only been actually doing the online courses for a little under a year. I opened my online art academy in December of last year, and I'm just blown away by the potential there. So those of you who are teachers, in particular, we saw with COVID how people who are art teachers and do workshops, their businesses just got kind of like devastated by the whole COVID thing. We've already earned over $60,000 this year with my online art academy. And typically they say that when the second and third year is when you see exponential growth of this type of thing. So I'm really looking forward to that coming up in the next 2 years. But that course is also going to come out this winter. Now we're also having a big Black Friday sale coming up in a week or so. So those of you who are watching this kind of very soon after it's published, we're going to be doing an offer for those of you who aren't interested in the big whole bundle. We're going to be offering 50% off of my mini courses. And that also is only going to be available to my newsletter subscribers, but that is my newsletter subscribers on the Tim Packer Art Academy. And that is also where every week you will get an email that will tell you of the latest YouTube video that I've uploaded. You'll also get notifications when I come up with new courses and any sort of promotions that we have with special offers. Again, that will only be offered through the newsletter. And just a heads up in terms of the courses that I have coming up, I'll be doing a whole series of courses in watercolor. I'll be doing a series of courses on portraits in both watercolor and oils. And I'll be doing a number of the demonstration paintings of the various types of scenes that I paint. So if you want to be advised of all of that, go to www.timpackerartacademy.com. You can scroll to the bottom of the page, give me your email and your name, and you'll get updates of all of that stuff. And I just want to leave you with one thing too before I go. And that is that when I thought that I was not talented enough to become a successful artist when I was 21 and I gave up on the dream, I was absolutely right, but I wasn't talented enough yet. Talent is not something that you have or are given. Talent is something that you develop through hours and hours and hours of learning, of practice, of trial and error, of just spending time before the easel. And I believe with all of my heart that if you have three things, there is no limit to the potential of what you could achieve as an artist. You first of all need to have a passion for art. If you don't, there's just no way you could put in the thousands of hours required. You have to have a willingness and ability to learn. There is an incredible amount to learn to be able to paint great paintings consistently. And you need to have a solid work ethic. You can read all the books you want. You can watch all the videos you want. Unless you actually spend the time doing the things you need to do to improve, it's not going to happen. But if you want the kind of life that I have, if you want in 5 or 10 years to be sitting here thinking, wow, I just made $40,000 in sales in a weekend, it is possible. So when you look at the kind of success that I've had, or you look at the success for other people, I want you to change your frame of reference. Rather than saying, why him or why her, ask yourself, why not me? That's when my career really started to take off. When I looked at the success of other people that were around me, I saw it was possible. I said, why not me? And then just got to work doing the things that I needed to do. Because I honestly believe if you have the courage to chase your dreams, you just might catch one. And that's what happened to me.